There's no question that music is the key to any party, but when you're President of the United States, a simple iPhone playlist just won't do. But lucky for the Commander-in-Chief, the President's own Marine Corps band is always at his service.
It's a mission that began very early on in our history. In fact, the band was formed by an act of Congress in 1798, signed by President John Adams. And we made our White House debut on New Year's Day, 1801. It was the very first time for a New Year's Day reception hosted by President and Mrs. Adams, and we've had a relationship with the presidency ever since.
One of the things I think people most identify with the Marine Band is the red uniforms. Where did that tradition start?
That starts right from the very beginning of our existence. Musicians typically wore the opposite colors of what the rest of the Marines wore, and that's so the commanders could find them quickly in battle so they could signal drum and bugle calls to the troops. So Marines traditionally wear blue uniforms with red trim, and Marine musicians wore red uniforms with blue trim.
At the concert last night, you ended the show with Stars and Stripes Forever, a real crowd pleaser. People started clapping. Is that the reception that march always gets?
Happens every single time. We probably play that march over 100 times a year, not only here in Washington at the White House, but also across the nation when we go on tour. Not only because it's our national march, but also because it's something that people absolutely love.
What is it about these marches, and how does a song become just instantly patriotic?
Well, I think first of all, music, in my experience, in my service to the Marine Corps and the Marine Band, I've seen over and over and over again just how powerful music is in bringing people together and finding common ground. And when we have our national holidays, whether we're celebrating our independence or celebrating our veterans or paying tribute to those who have lost their lives serving our country, there is something that that feeling of patriotism is always enhanced by music.
Your primary mission is to serve the President with his musical needs. Do Commanders-in-Chief develop favorite marches, favorite performances?
Every president has different musical tastes, and we work very hard to try to get to know the President and the First Lady, get to know the music that's important to them, and be sure that we tailor what we do at the White House to their feelings about what the House should be. I've served under 3 presidents now, President Clinton, President Bush, and President Obama. All 3 of these presidents and first ladies have been so incredibly gracious to the United States Marine Band, so inclusive of music and the arts in the House.
And one of your major performances every 4 years is the presidential inauguration. We'll have another one coming up in January.
Yes.
When do preparations for that begin for you guys?
Preparations really begin probably a year out from the inauguration. Until we know who is going to be the next president, we can't get very specific because the inaugural ceremony is a combination of very specific traditions that we've had for many, many years, and also the desires of the new president and their team. So when we get to November and December, we will ramp up pretty significantly in planning for that event. One of the wonderful things about this institution is not only do we have an opportunity to be professional musicians, but we also have that front row seat for some of these really important events in our nation's history. To be able to participate in the history of our nation, and to also participate in advancing the artistic culture of our nation, our identity, is something that's extremely satisfying, and our musicians really take great pride in supporting that mission.